Hello, everyone. Welcome to 4Checks Cast. We are your 4Checks, and we're here to give you everything there is to know about universes. And there has been a lot, mostly because we have been gone for a couple weeks. I've been gone for 2. Everyone else has been gone for 1.
You've been gone for like a month.
Yeah, it's been chaos. So let's go ahead and get right into it with what's been going on lately. I think we're going to start with Gencon because that's the most pertinent thing that's been brought or happened. Who here was at Gencon? Was it just me and Tim?
Believe
Not
so.
I.
Yeah.
It's just
So Gencon came and went, and it was a little interesting leading up to Gencon because we hadn't heard anything about promos for a long time. I think that the events that we knew were happening were known for like 2 or 3 months before conversation about the promos ever got brought up. And then like 2 days, I think it was, before
Yeah, it was like
the
Tuesday,
first day,
yeah.
they announced that
Tuesday.
there were going to be 4 mechanically unique promos, and the next day they announced there were going to be 4 alt art TMNT promos. Now, let's just kind of start talking on that before we go anything else. I want to hear kind of generally, are you guys pro or anti mechanically unique promos at a convention scene like this? I just kind of want to hear where people are before we move on.
I mean, I think the what my current understanding of these Gen Con promos is, and I think of like Ball Might from years past. I think is great. Like I think, or like the Harley and Joker promos from something last year, where they are mechanically unique. They're completely original. They're brand new, and they're exciting for people there. And they don't show up in tournaments for a long time afterward when they have filtered out to the rest of the world through whatever means. I think that's a great pattern. I think that's really cool for people who are there. It's brand new and exciting and original, and then it doesn't screw with tournaments. I think that those are the important boundaries. I think that we're satisfying the audiences that are there and the audiences that are at home.
Yeah, and with Ball Might, they made some very clear announcements about how its legality was going to work, and they have not done that with these. People are suspecting that there might be, like, maybe there's an upcoming Critical Challenger deck or something these are going to be tied to, and they don't feel like they can announce any details about this until they announce that, right? There could be something like that going on. Certainly, you probably don't randomly produce a slate of 4 Bell's Hells promos if you don't have an actual release planned.
Yeah.
Right. It seems very likely that something's coming.
Right. Or at the very least, like, not more than characters, right? Like, the fact that there was also an asset and a backup is weird.
It's more than just, like, the one-off fresh cut grass.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. The assumption is that well, you could assume that they're legal because everything's legal the day it shows up by default.
Right.
You could also assume that it's not legal because just like common sense would dictate, that would be insane. So, because to be clear, you did not just get these promos for showing up. You had to buy like $130 worth of product, Critical Role product at the Gen Con booth.
150.
And you had to find this out by going up and asking them because it certainly wasn't clearly advertised anywhere. And there wasn't any indication at the booth that there was anything Critical related even there, which was extra crazy.
Yeah.
So like the number of people who even accidentally have these is very, very low because if you're a Critical Role fan, you're not walking into that booth.
Absolutely. I am generally very pro mechanically unique promos as long as there is pretty quickly an understanding of like how the general populace can get access to them.
Yeah.
I think it is a cool way for people to get into or feel like that they got something special of universes out of going to this convention. I think, like, for example, when Anime Expo was doing the Joker and Harley Quinn promo, I thought that was exceptionally cool. Oh, you're not only do we now get a little bit in for simply or get a little bit of Universe in Anime Expo, not only do we get to get a new IP into the game, but it feels like you're being rewarded for being a Universes fan. I think we might as well just jump into it. $150 for these promos felt ridiculous.
Ridiculously low. They should have charged you more.
Yeah, you're right.
Make that money.
Well, they technically did if you need a place of the asset in the backup.
Yeah, that's the thing that felt the most insulting to me. The character promo, like, I generally put the value of like a mechanically unique promo generally in the range of like $25 to $30. And I get that's an arbitrary number. We can say like well, why is any number the number you should set? But that's generally where I feel like I'm still getting my money's worth. That was like the fresh cut grass. That was the Anya. I never really felt too bad about that. This was about $32, $40 for the first set of each promo. That's about 150 divided by 4. Actually, it's about $37. And it was now if you wanted to get the Dorian's loot and the little misters and more than one copy, because those decks, Dorian especially, probably wants to play at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of his promo. You're now talking about having to spend, for at that point you have the character, $75 per version of loot you want. And that's getting a little ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's sort of like they bake in the assumption that everyone's just going to kind of know that these are available later.
Yeah.
And everyone is expected to know that they're kind of wailing if they really want to get these early, and they're just supposed to understand that without it actually being spoken by UVS Games, because they don't come out and say things like that because they don't want to look bad to their like IP holders or whatever.
Sure.
So it's kind of like I'm saying it's kind of like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge kind of a thing. Where like these are there, and people that, you know, people you're at Gen Con, you're kind of expecting to spend lots of money on stuff.
Mhm.
And they wanted to give people a way to spend money on stuff and feel like they were getting some promos for being at Gen Con or whatever. I'm not really sure why they had to do these on top of the TMNT alt arts. It felt like just the alt arts would have been plenty. If you handed these out at like they did with the Tekken promos as like store championship things, I think that would have been really good.
I actually,
it's not like they're swimming in promos that people want.
Yeah.
So they could have probably spread these out a little bit, but you know.
well, and I actually said
who
like,
knows what's going on in the room.
And obviously, like, they probably would have been a little less popular, so I get why they did it. Like, this is financially the we make more money decision. But if the McKinley Unique promos had been what you were getting for demoing the game, I think that would have been way more exciting. Especially when, like, in comparison, if you, like, Riftbound was right across the street, and we have to, you know, you kind of have to look at what other card games are doing, in my opinion, when you're seeing, like, how good an experience is in part. And Riftbound was giving 2 full demo decks that are actually like fun to play in game, not our no effects demo decks that we have at Universes, and a stamped promo for Ari for a character that had not come out yet. Meanwhile, we were giving out Splinter as an alt art, which wasn't terrible.
At least that card's good, but yeah,
it's a good card. Like, it's not a terrible option. Yeah. And then the 2 demo decks that just aren't that fun to play in a casual setting. So I don't know. I think it would have been way more exciting if for doing the demo you got one of the promos. Maybe even like the asset and the backup promo were the ones you got for that, because those are the ones you want multiple copies of. I don't know. There are ways I feel you could have done it better than how they did it.
Yeah, and not to mention that it was specifically for Critical Role product. It wasn't like spend this much money on Apocalypse, which is the most recent set aside from Turtles, which is about to be out. Because I can understand not wanting to do something like pre-orders, because like that can get really messy.
Yeah.
It's kind of skeezy going, give us money for this product that's not even here yet. We can't necessarily guarantee that we'll give it to you, but we should.
Yeah, you're circumventing stores and things
right,
like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like with Apocalypse, at least that's the most recent set.
Well,
Hex is a set old now, and granted, if you want Critical Role stuff, you can still get it. It's a decent deal if you still need Critical Role stuff. A lot of people who are coming to get these promos don't need that Critical Role stuff.
And
so, Justin, I'm curious. So you said you liked mechanically unique promos.
Yeah.
I think of we're talking, and if we talk about what other games are doing and exorbitant prices for promos, I think of SWU, and they have, I think, is it $100 for the promo pack that is like effectively a lotto to get into, and is a massive consumer surplus that anyone who can get one if they want to just immediately go resell those cards on eBay.
Sure.
And those aren't mechanically unique promos, kind of because the wink, wink, nudge, nudge scenario of, hey, I'm going to spend $300 on this card on eBay to build my deck. That's like a little bit too egregious, I think, for anyone's taste in this situation. So do you think that like would you? So I guess kind of how help me square that sort of because like the FOMO like beat you over the head like you have to get these cards mechanical uniqueness aspect is kind of gross if they exploit that to make the cards more valuable, and they could just make the cards expensive up front. So I guess what makes mechanically unique appealing to you? I guess.
So I need to make sure I understand what your question is. Are you asking me basically like why is exploiting FOMO for mechanically unique promos so bothersome to me? Is that
Well, you said you like mechanically unique promos, and
yes,
like you're a fan of those.
100%.
But you felt I got a sense you kind of felt exploited that they were
Yeah.
asking you for so much money for them.
Mhm.
In other like in Star Wars, they ask people for hundreds of dollars for their promos, and then those cards are worth hundreds of dollars.
Mhm.
I hope we're not gonna like see Little Mister be $200 on eBay in a few months.
Okay, I see. So you're saying like how do we keep the value of these like how do we feel like we're getting a value idea here if they were cheaper? Is that
Well,
kind of
I mean, I see this is kind of a trade-off. You said you were enthusiastic about mechanically unique promos,
I think
but
here's where
you'd
I'll
rather
say
they'd be cheaper.
I would rather they be cheaper because to me mechanically unique promos, at least in con promos, are about being rewarded for being a UVS fan at this con. If you are a fan of universes, it was worthwhile for you to go to Gen Con purely because you got this promo. Like, obviously, it's probably not worth the plane ticket and everything, but it feels like I got rewarded for being a fan of the game for the time I've put into the game with this kind of acknowledgement while I'm at these cons. I think that is a rewarding thing as a fan. When you make the barrier to entry something as big as $150, I think what happens is now it loses a lot of the luster of a con promo. It loses this like this is a cool event for UVS fans because for a lot of UVS fans they go every UVS fan I spoke to besides like two went I don't need these promos that early for $150. I'm sure they will be out at some point later or won't be standard legal because there's no way they're going to make these exclusive cards that expensive and have them be standard legal if there's no other way to get them. So they just didn't buy them, including the people I knew at the con. Like, Tim, did you buy the Mechanically Unique promos?
No, we did not cross paths as a con. Garrett
I
tried
know.
to invite Justin for board games and he ghosted us.
Wait, what? I
Damn.
genuinely did not see that message anywhere. I would have been down. I didn't see it.
Calling him out on the podcast.
Damn, con 4K.
No,
Tim, post the receipts. Post the receipts.
I don't have Garrett's messenger.
Oh, he messaged me on my Facebook Messenger. No
Yeah,
wonder
that's
I
the only way
didn't-
he knows to communicate. He's even older than I am.
I was like, no wonder I
has
didn't see
Discord.
it. No, that's
I haven't seen on
fantastic.
Discord in ages.
That's
Anyway.
perfect.
Maybe he just doesn't have it on his phone. Maybe. I
Oh,
don't
that's
know.
so funny. Okay. But yeah, everyone I know did not buy the mechanically unique promos. So like what was the coolness of them being a con exclusive at that point? What like we could argue if con exclusives should be a thing. Like if that is creating a bit of a divide in the community between the haves and the have-nots. I think that's a legitimate conversation in a broader stroke. But if you're going to do them, it should feel like you get them just for being at the con and being involved with the con experience. So that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, I think mechanically unique promos are good for when you want to incentivize something and you don't feel like alt arts are going to be good enough for one reason or another. Like whenever they've put mechanically unique promos attached, I mean, maybe they'll have the data on this, but I would imagine just anecdotally, when local championships have mechanically unique promos, people show up. And when they don't, it's just like the 4-point chasers in the group and maybe one or two other people, at least locally, right? But when showing up gets you one of all these cool Tekken characters, everybody wants one. You know, and so they're good for stuff like that. And using them to incentivize spending $150 at the booth is kind of weird. Like they had a bunch of playmats. If it was like buy a playmat get a promo, which is something they've done in a lot of years, I think that would make sense. They want to, like, you can understand them wanting to move playmats, and I think they had some like con exclusive mats or something like that, or at least some ones that were new to the con. I think that would have been neat. It's just a little. They were trying to tie it to the IP, or maybe like they didn't have permission to tie Critical Role promos to other things, but Critical Role promos are the ones that they had, and this is just what they came up with.
I heard someone posit in that direction that like the starter decks, like because I think it was starter decks were one of the ways you could get them. It was the box plus 2 starter decks. And I was saying in that regard that I was like, yeah, if it was just the 2 starter decks, and this was like first and foremost a thing to get Critical Role fans for a relatively low investment to try the game, I would have been on board. And if you're a fan of us, like, or if you're an established fan, you would go, okay, 20, 30 bucks. However, I think they're $14.99. So $30. You get the 4 promos and 2 starter decks that you as a established player probably haven't bought because they don't have that many good cards in them. I think that would feel less bad because it'd be like, okay, you're paying for the promos and you're getting the starter decks as a bonus. And $30 is very reasonable for 4 promos. I think adding the box to it meant for newer players, it felt like way too much of an investment. And for established players who have probably already bought a bunch of Hex boxes, or at least all of the cards they need in Hex, it feels like you're not getting your money's worth.
Yeah, I mean, they have the numbers on that. I mean, I'm sure they'll evaluate how this winter didn't
Of
win
course.
and try to either do better or do the same thing next time if this went really well for them.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, did you do any of the organized play events? I signed up for the one pre-release that didn't overlap with True Dungeon, and it said on the event that it wasn't a tournament, so I just planned to go, rip some packs, chat with people, and then head back to the vendor hall, which is what I did. Turned out it was a tournament. Not that there was any prizing, I don't think, but
I think there may have been
did
a
you
pack per win.
stick through any of those, Justin? Did you do the teams thing?
I was gonna do the Sunday one or the Saturday one, and just do walk in, and I was told it was all filled up, and like maybe there was going to be an option to like maybe someone didn't show up, but it was most of the signups were relatively late enough that probably everyone was going to show up because it was $30. So I was like, it's not worth it at that point. And I think that's when I went in line for the Riftbound demo for standby, and then I went and did other con stuff.
I blasted through where as well, but apparently it was a pack of AOT3 for per win.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was figuring.
What?
Yeah, because they didn't want to open more pre-release kits.
I mean, the kits come with a box.
I don't know.
I mean, I guess that's only 24 packs, but like, if you're opening 3 kits, that's 3 boxes.
Look,
I don't understand.
I don't know what you want.
Players.
I don't know what you want.
Like, you put a bow on this. I don't think we want to spend too much time just sort of kicking the bejesus out of UVS games. But next year, please come up with a remotely cohesive Gen Con layout that makes any kind of sense at all.
Even if it's... Go ahead.
I was going to say, if this year they sacrifice their Gen Con plans for the rest of their organized play plans, and actually, what a good segue. Like, then I'm okay with it with this year's organized play personally, and I also personally need to go to Gen Con, so sacrifice all of that.
Yeah, right.
And speaking of, thank you for the segue. Let's talk about the next thing that's on the docket. If everyone's kind of said their piece, we have been halfway through organized play at this point. We have had 3 American regionals, I believe 1 European and 1 Australian regional. So we have had 5 of the regionals so far, and we are through 3 of either the 4 or 5 local seasons. I have heard, and this is kind of one of the things that when we talk about communication, why there might be some issue, I have heard conflicting things from different people about whether or not season 4 of locals this year will count towards this year of Worlds or next year of Worlds.
Josh told me directly it would be next year at Louisville.
Okay.
If there's been other conflicts with that, like,
I haven't spoken to any staff member, and I hadn't heard like anybody having insider info. I had mostly just been hearing stuff.
I'm sure this will be communicated at some point before season 4, which is much later than people probably actually want / sort of need to know that information. But
yeah, I think that is, and not to jump ahead in the conversation for when we're talking about OP, but it is mildly annoying that as people are trying to calculate the points they need, I think a lot of people are going in to, did Lenoka say that publicly, Ross? Okay. I think there is still probably going to be a lot of people at locals and things like that
we need less things to be someone said this in the Discord. Or
I know.
That's very true. That's very true.
What
as
is the
people are
line when
calculating,
season 4 starts?
if they don't know if it is if this is the last season or not, and they think it's not the last season, so they go for like 45 points and go, oh, I'm going to skip an LCS because I know I can make one next season. And then all of a sudden next season they don't go to Worlds as a result. I think that's going to result in a lot of hurt feelings, which is generally not a good thing. So I wish there was a little bit better communication there, but I kind of want to rewind and talk a bit on a broader stroke. Let's talk about people's personal experience with regionals. So I know I've been to 2. Has anyone here been to all 3? I think everyone's been to 2.
I was at all 3.
It was been 3. Yeah.
Oh, Barbara and both all 3? Cool. So let's start with kind of like, we'll do just a brief of each one really quick. Denver, did you guys start seeing improvements right away for Will, Broberg, Tim?
I mean,
Improvements
Denver
over what?
was different than last year.
Mhm.
I think it was like the meme is like, oh wow, like regionals are gonna be so different, and then Denver was like just the same basically. There were like hiccups with the prize wall. There were hiccups with like how tickets were gonna go, with earning tickets, with what side events were worth doing. I got a top 32 prize that I thought was really cool, but various folks were various levels of gruntled about their prizes for the main event, for the main bracket.
Yeah, I think the main complaint about Top Cut prizes were just that people didn't feel like they were able to grind for the prize wall promos because they were stuck in Top Cuts. I don't know for sure. I did not make day 2, but I think that was the general consensus, and that was the biggest poo-poo on the prize
Yeah,
wall.
and also there were like 70 people who showed up, which was not an incredible outcome.
Right. It was definitely small.
Yeah, we had both the first 2 regionals were both quite hard to get to, and the attendance kind of reflects that.
And also it was like a month after, like, was it even a month after Worlds?
Yeah, it was after they had like chained, people, not chained, but like people had gone to like Nats and Worlds in a quick succession in a lot of cases, because the announcement of Worlds being open was like a last minute thing too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All that being said, though, so far Denver, best hotel I've been to so far.
Yeah.
All regionals, that is fantastic. We should get more hotels like that.
Yeah, if they keep doing hotels, I think that's probably up for debate. It is clear that the lead time on booking these spaces is a problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Given how long it's taken them to announce some of these things, and in some cases move them around, maybe not this year, but last year. So, I wouldn't be, especially since they're going to have the Riftbound feather in their cap for next year. They won't need like their UVS events to prove how big they are or whatever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see more like large local game stores getting events.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So Denver sounds like it was more functional than some of the regionals last year had been, but it was kind of viewed as like a more polished, but kind of the same thing as regionals were last year. Am I getting
It's
that
hard
as
to
a
feel
general-
polished when you announce, but as the first round of Swiss is starting, by the way, we have a new rule.
I did say more polished. I didn't say polished.
Everyone can
We're
view each
grading
other's
on a
necklace,
curve
except
here.
that they can't. Except that they can. But
I think for me, Albuquerque, and that was the first one I had went to. I think it was me, Broberg, Tim, Will. You weren't at Albuquerque, right?
No, I couldn't.
I was
do
not.
that one. It was a little too expensive.
Yeah.
I think that's where improvements started to really be seen in terms of more things. Some of the things that I know stuck out when we talked about it at the time. It was where we first, because one of the things that had been marketed in the video was that these weren't tournaments, these were events. We were going to do regional events that had more than just tournaments.
Right.
And the first thing that really felt like it was going beyond just what you would expect at a tournament as like side card game events was the cosplay contest. And I think that was a very good success. I've heard from the people at the tournament pretty much exclusively good things. I know that there some people in the back end may gripe or some at times or things like that, but I know like front end it's been like very positively received.
Oh, I hated it. I was trying to play a side event and I was freaking deafened, and also I was like losing to Wub. It was horrible.
Well, if you were winning against Wub, would you have felt better?
No.
At least in
bottom 5
Louisville, they
games in
kind of
universities
like
I've ever
paused the
played.
round timer for it, or they did it in between
Yeah.
rounds or something, so they weren't messing with people.
Oh, damn. Actually, I just it's actually okay. I'm upgrading it. It's still bottom 5, but like I realized that I now have empathy for Bromley and Jeff trying to play with the opera at CNE a couple years ago. That's how they felt. Damn. I was like making fun of them like that. I thought the opera was cool, but dang. Okay.
I hope the Toronto Regional has an opera singer.
That'd be dope.
just
man.
once.
Okay, if we start having live
just in
music
the middle
out
of top
this-
4.
It's like at a game store too. So like,
yeah.
Could you imagine if you were losing in Top Cut and all of a sudden opera music starts playing?
can you imagine? Can you imagine you're losing at Top Cuts and then the freaking opera from Gurren Lagann comes on and the chorus, the rapper kicks in, do the impossible, see invisible, row, fight the power, and then you start winning and then you win?
Okay, that'd be legit.
Cinema. Cinema.
The funniest thing I wanted to shout out from the Albuquerque event. No, that is peak. It's peak universes. The number one thing I wanted to shout out from Albuquerque. The funny thing was it was not an official UVS Games thing. It was the pizza party. I unironically think if they have the hours where it's possible, after Swiss on every day, there should have a couple hours that is some sort of social event. You may not need to have catering because obviously that's expensive for the organizers, but a social event that's kind of designed to be a thing after the Swiss is done. I thought that was the single coolest thing that we had in Albuquerque, is really bringing the community together. I don't know how, because I know you stayed for pizza, Broberg. I don't remember if Tim stayed for pizza.
I wasn't there.
You weren't there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, here you come. Was it against a 14 thing?
It's just a lot. Like it's a 2 more PTO days, and
Sure.
I only have so many. It's just things like pizza parties cost money. Things like I think part of one of the things they have to contend with is, I'm not going to frame it as a problem per se, is that they're kind of outsourcing all their tournaments to third-party TOs.
Sure.
And the incentives of a third-party TO are not the same as the incentives of the company.
Of course.
Not to like speak for Sean, right? But like just rationally, Sean gets nothing out of having a cosplay contest, right?
Yeah.
He has no reason to care. It is just an irritation for his ability to run the event. That doesn't mean he's against them, but like when he's planning this event, he's not thinking about how do I make this harder on myself, and so if UVS Games wants to have cosplay, then they have to be more involved in the process and say like, hey, these are things that we require at our events, and be more hands-on. And if they want to have pizza parties after the events, now they have to supply that much more funding, and how much are they already spending, and blah 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 blah. Whereas like perhaps I don't, if they're doing less of the hotels, right, if they're finding a way to, even if it's like not a hotel, but just like an event hall. I think we've had 1Ks at like community centers before, right?
Sure.
And I don't know if those are cheaper than hotels or not, but they probably are. And maybe then they could put a little bit more into the, the bells and whistles.
Yeah, I think of Sean at St. Louis last year. He got we picked up like 12 dozen donuts or something. We picked up like bricks of donuts.
I think like my answer to that, and kind of the broader thing of regional event, is if UVS Games is wanting to do more of these social events, more of these social elements, the things that make it feel more than just a tournament, I think that is cool. I think that is admirable. I think if you are doing that, you need to be putting money in. Like you need to because if you want to outsource the card game part to a card game TO, there's logic to that. Sean gets to make sure he gets the primo spot in the vendor hall. He gets to make sure that he is there, gets to sell cards, gets to make his money, and then some hopefully through those card sales. Cool. That makes sense. If you are wanting more social events, those should not ever be costed on the TO or feel like it is taking away from the TO's profit margin, because then you are disincentivizing card gamers to run the TO stuff.
Yeah, but so ABQ, I know I played a draft and I was relatively happy with the draft. ABQ, I guess, was, if we're just reflecting on the year, part of the story is that Apocalypse was in our hands and illegal, and
Yeah.
everyone was excited to play side events so they could finally play their Apocalypse cards.
I loved Dragon's Horde. I want Dragon's Horde to be at everything. I know a lot of people did not like Dragon's Horde. I think Dragon Horde is one of the most fun side events I've ever been in. Maybe like not losing games helped with that, but
You see Dragon's Horde with like 8 or 10 packs, and more like I like the gimmick of what they did, where you just I like the gimmick where I could just go up and pay $3, and they gave me like $8 in value or something.
Yeah.
That was cool. So Chaos Sealed. So the format they did was that you basically told them what booster packs you wanted to play with, and then they took them off the shelf and put them in a big bag, and then it was kind of a community voting of what cards were going to be in the sealed pool, and then we all got 6 random booster packs and build our decks from 6 random booster packs.
and it was for all of Retro. So it was like Broberg was a monster and put in Heroes Clash because it's a terrible set.
It's cheap. That's right.
And then like other people put in like could put in Soul Calibur 2 or whatever. So you could have a mix of these incredibly high power and these incredibly low power sets. And they also did a very smart thing. They gave people one current pack on top of that, just to guarantee you got a character that was probably at least semi-functional. So it was a really fun event. It was a little messy in terms of like it's very uneven. I could see you getting a really bad experience due to bad pulls, but I think quirky events like that are really hard. I also think that it's hard to do that at a local store. So I think it's cool to have those kind of events.
It's a great regional side event, honestly. Because
regional side events should be things that you can't do otherwise.
Right,
yeah, the big inventories, the big pool of people who might be interested, and the big pool of like people who might be like curious, and they'll drop after round 1 no matter what happens, kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think that leads us into kind of the most recent regional, which is Louisville, which was everyone at Louisville?
I believe we were all
Yes.
at Louisville. Yeah.
Everyone was here. Quite literally, it felt like almost everyone was there. We had
It
like
Smash Bros.
180 something play, or no, 170 something players by the end.
Yeah, it was. I think the signups peaked at 199,
which means I did Swiss Champ, the largest regional of the year.
So far,
just saying, like I Atlanta 182. didn't get top 8 either. I don't know.
Got him.
Oh man. Wait, did you say I didn't top 8 Atlanta?
Great job.
Wait, did you say I didn't top 8 Atlanta?
I didn't top 8.
Oh,
my placement was not 8th place.
Oh,
my placement was not 5th place.
Oh, yeah, you. So
Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, all memes aside, it was a really fun weekend. I just didn't get to flex that because I was gone the next week, so I wanted to flex that now for a second.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't get to talk about my regional run at all, and I'm not going to waste time here because we have too much on the plate. I think like a lot of what we said just carries over to Louisville. There's one extra thing I wanted to talk about, which is like, I think promos are getting kind of weird. The prize wall is getting kind of weird in how it's handling promos. I think besides Marley's Warriors, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, every promo in Louisville was a repeat. And Marley's Warriors probably was not supposed to be there given how few they are. That's just my guess. Given there was only like 8 of them, I don't think that was the case.
The only thing that was different was the participation promo being on the prize wall.
Yes, and then and then we also had the Top Cut promo, but besides that.
Right. Yeah, but that wasn't on the prize wall.
Sure.
So I was responding specifically to that.
Yeah, I think Louisville is like technically in the same season as Albuquerque or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, and I'm trying to find it. I don't know if I can. I feel like at the start of the year when they outlaid this organized play plan, the plan was to have new promos every 2 months as they laid it out, and then they like hemmed and hawed and decided to like retcon that. But
sure,
maybe specifically for the season.
I think 2 things happened with the prize wall. One, it was kind of annoying. I didn't feel like there was much new. I was getting much value out of it if I had already gotten the promos I wanted at a previous event. The other issue, and something I think that I definitely want to make sure that want to see them more careful. And I will give credit from my understanding, there was an attempt to do this, and I don't want to give the details because I don't want to like say anything from what I've heard from TOs, but there was an attempt to make sure that promos were available for people who top cut. That if you top cut, because you weren't getting your additional promos until after you were out, you were going to get an opportunity to get the promos. And even from the efforts I understand they made, it was still very frustrating when I got out in top 8 and I go to pick up, like, it's like we could get 6 promos or something for top 8. And I go to pick up the Pale Riders that I want because that's the only new promo. That's the only one. That's probably one I'm going to put in a deck. And all the Pale Riders are gone. And I was
actually
like,
crazy to me that the participation promo was out.
And it's like, it feels bad. And maybe this is like a privileged thing to come from as like to be like, hey, you made top cut and now you're complaining. But like, it felt kind of frustrating that the promo that was probably the best one, and it's realistic that's the one that goes first, went away first, and I was unable to get it, despite the fact that, like, in theory, I should be getting the better pricing, and I did in other ways, the better pricing for. They held promos for Top Cutters ABQ. My understanding is they did attempt to hold some for Louisville as well. It just wasn't enough.
They guessed wrong in terms of what ones people would want or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, again, I don't want to blame,
which
the
is fair,
TOs.
right? I wouldn't assume that people want the participation promo either.
Yeah.
On average, yeah, that would be.
Now, when
fair
when I got up and got my promos for 17th, I picked 2 participation promos. So
Yeah.
because I decided I wanted to get the keeping alerts, rather than some of the other stuff that was up there.
Right.
And let me be clear, I don't really want to put the blame on the TOs, because it's hard to make those predictions because you're also trying to keep enough on the price wall to make money.
They're not the ones that didn't put new promos out, right? Like,
and we've talked about, like, the goal of a TO is to make money off of these. You're not making more money off of the people in Top Cut. You're making money off of the people who are paying for side events and getting tickets immediately through side events and doing that. So I get, like, having to be careful about not wanting to take too much off your prize wall where people end up losing out on, or you end up losing out on money. I think there should have been definitely enough printed that this wouldn't have been a realistic concern. Maybe they were worried because, like, I wonder if they overprinted the Critical Role ones, and that's why we've had them for 3 regionals so far. And maybe they were trying
I think those
to avoid
regionals
that
were just
again.
underattended.
I think that's it too.
Yeah.
They were.
And the pricing at the first regional was a lot higher, right? They were
Right.
pretty tough to get at Denver.
Yeah, and like they're good cards. They're not like airships or anything,
Yeah, they're not ultra rares. Yeah.
It is crazy the quality of almost every promo we've printed, and then we printed airship as a promo. Like, every other promo I have seen is situational at best for a deck, and then airship is like, which one would you
there's
say?
Visage.
Radiant Visage is.
Sure.
great.
Radiant Visage is like fantastic. I forgot that.
I'm poo-pooing because I'm picturing the participation promos in my head, right? The Push the Limit and Pale Rider.
I think Pale Rider is more situational than airship is.
Yeah,
Moo.
Sure.
Like,
One of those
sideways.
is Infinity, right? Like,
one of these is an asset, right? Like,
One of
assets
those
are
is
terrible.
an Infinity asset that you can just slam in any deck.
Well, my point that I was getting kind of that is, like, they've had an issue at both regionals where they didn't have enough airships and had to do like a lottery system, because of how crazy good airship is and people want it. I mean, it's still a $10 card even with these promos. And compare that to the Critical Role ones, where I think the best one is Radiant Visage, and then you get like Throat Slitter, which is a good card. Like, I like Throat Slitter a lot. But besides that, they're kind of niche. I don't know. It's weird how we've kind of
actually come to think of it. I'm really just like picturing that I had promos from last year in my deck, and I don't know if those are supposed to be in this conversation.
My like
Electric Jolt's so good though, dude. Come on.
My like overriding theory, and unless it's like actually not possible in a situation, is that UBS Games is incredibly tied up by all of their IP arrangements, and needing, everything needs to go through approvals, and you need to be okay to mix this thing with that thing, and the only marketing assets they're allowed to make are actual pictures of cards, right? They use pictures of cards a lot because that's like the one thing they're allowed to do without getting permission per se. And like, I imagine some of the promo jankiness of the timing and things like that, and they can't just say, hey, we're going to need more promos 4 months from now and make it happen.
Right.
I think that that's probably fair, but I also think like
much less guess what cards people are going to want.
my answer to that sort of thing is, as a consumer, that doesn't really matter. And what I mean when I say that, I can empathize with the struggle, but you as a producer of a game of anything, you are trying to say that this is worth people's time and money. And if people are feeling undervalued for what they're doing, regardless of if you have a good reason or not, in just like a pure business level, you're not succeeding at it, in my opinion. You are
Yeah,
floundering.
it's not their job. It's not players' job to feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
And
I know so one thing that happened in one of Discord today was the giant cards for Magic. I think it was
Yeah.
Magic, got revealed. And people were like, man, it's crazy. Even Magic now has giant cards. And you brought up in that Discord that like maybe there's like an IP rights issue with the giant cards. And I think that that's fair. That's possible. It's possible, TMNT doesn't want to do giant cards. AOT didn't want to do giant cards and told them no. But it doesn't change the fact that we don't really have a suitable replacement for like a cool thing at an event that giant cards bring to the table for a lot of events.
So for what it's worth, I think it's more along the lines of they think the giant cards are too bulky because people want to play with the characters, so they decide to make these oversized cards instead.
Yeah, actually, they did.
We do have
we
oversized
kinda,
cards.
Yeah, we have oversized cards, and we have the uncut sheets too that are, I think, very much in that same dimension of like really primo dope shit Rise.
Sure.
Oversized cards, I am not a big fan of. I think especially the non-character oversized cards, I think are really lame.
Sure. No, I agree with that. But I mean, like when it comes to the characters, a lot of people asked when they got the oversized MHA cards, they're like, "Can we play this with our character? Can we use this as our character?" And the response from UVS Games was, "Well, of course not. Why would you? That takes up like the entire table. Of course you can't use
That's
that as
a
your
playmat and a
character."
half. Yeah.
Right. Like
I thought you were
so
allowed to use those as your starting character.
I remembered at least at first it was you cannot use that as your starting character because clearly it's too large.
we're talking about the actual like
Yes. The
Yeah.
MHA
2 feet
ones,
by
the
3
big
feet.
No,
ones.
no.
Yeah.
We're talking about the prize wall.
No. I know.
No.
I'm
Oh,
comparing.
I thought we were talking about
Will's talking about the big
Okay,
boy.
so I'm saying we were
Yeah,
told
I
that
see.
we couldn't use the big ones, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's lame. I want to use as my starting character." And I think UVS Games took that to heart, and they go, "Okay, let's do oversized characters because they're big, they're comically large, but you can play with these because they don't take up the entire board." Now, I
Yeah,
agree that the non-character cards are worthless. I got 2 trinkets, and I was like, "What the fuck am I going to do with these? I don't
Yeah.
want these."
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I threw them away.
Yeah. I think my thing, I don't know. I would be very curious to see what the public thought about it.
Sure.
The giant cards at the My Hero Nationals drew in a ton of hype from people.
Sure.
I've seen people be like somewhat cool with the oversized cards, like, oh, these are neat, but I haven't seen the level of hype that the giant card is, even acknowledging that they're not playable. Than for the oversized cards. Now, I will tell you the uncut sheet, sick as hell.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Those are
hope
cool.
that they keep doing that for every event for the new sets. That is one of the smartest things they have ever done, is the uncut sheets. But I want giant cards. I think giant cards are cool. I think they're
Sure.
interesting.
I was gonna say, I remember they literally, like, someone was like teeing at me that they called them colossal cards or whatever at My Hero Nationals, and it's like, what does that mean? And I resolutely refused to get my hopes up because I'm not getting baited, but they were teeing at me. But like, yeah, it's almost, I think of what Tim was talking about with, they have to get all these approvals for anything they want to do. And it's surprising that there weren't any colossal cards for the colossal format.
Yeah, there's
Right.
and maybe they've already done this and all this stuff's like a year out or whatever, but
Sure.
I expect there should be, if there hasn't been already, like some serious, not all hands on deck because that's way too many people, but like a task force for like, how are we gonna make our organized play promo pipeline stable and consistently produce good, cool things that people are gonna want. And one of my pet ideas, without getting too deep into it, is to just stop requiring yourselves to have IPs on everything, right? Just like come up with some original characters that you can put on cards that let you make whatever art you want to make. You could make art of cats or whatever if you want to, right? Just kind of whatever you want, just so that you can circumvent the licensing thing, maybe do things more timely, maybe like, I don't know, Dark Ward's a card I think of that's like a popular uncommon with a regular art that's just like a half of the card covered in a comic book panel of some dude that I don't think is even a named
Right.
character. And like that's ripe for a promo, but can they reactively come up with a Dark Ward promo in a reasonable time frame? And do they need to like also package it with other Critical Role promos to get them to approve it? And you know, if they were, they need to look for some creativity and figure out something that they can consistently make work.
Right. Let me tell you that I've had this conversation with my locals before, and it tilts me that Might of Stone is the Keyleth card that got the Keyleth alt art instead of, which already has a beautiful art on
Yes.
the actual card.
Yes.
Instead of the uncommon that sometimes Big Cat might play, the one that's like a 2/6 that gets speed for face downs, that has just some stupid screen cap from a comic book on it. Like,
Right.
It tilts me so bad that that card was not the one that got the alt art.
Yeah, because they're trying to judge, you know, X years in advance what cards people are going to
Sure,
want. They're like, we
sure,
think Might
sure.
of Stone's a good one based on our testing in,
Right.
you know, early 2024. And, you know, if it's not just, if it's part of it's an approvals thing, it's not all a printing thing, right? Whatever the
Sure.
timeline is on these, if you could lock those in a little bit later, you know, at least get things when. So long as you're not like, they could produce a Dark Ward promo next year and it'd be fine, right? So long as
Sure,
it's not like the
absolutely.
year it's rotating.
Right,
You know?
right.
I think there is one other thing we're talking about when it comes to these sort of promo pricing, and I'm almost regret to bring it up given some of the context of recent conversations. Top cut pricing has felt kind of lackluster. I think, like, I don't know if anyone would disagree with that on principle. I look at the promos we've gotten. So we got Dramatic Rescue at Albuquerque, and we got 1,000 Lightning Kicks in Louisville. And
Hunter's
the art,
Ally in Denver.
I do like the art. Which one for Denver?
It was Hunter's Ally.
Hunter's Ally. I did think the art for Hunter's Ally and 1,000 Lightning Kicks were fantastic. I do want to give credit there. I think they were really cool. I think Dramatic Rescue was just a lame promo. I think that art is kind of muddy, and the green hue over the entire thing just doesn't look good.
I really like the set art is a really good moment in the story. So like I didn't really think about the Gene art very hard at all.
It is literally where like I would rather play the main. I would never rather play main set Hunter's Ally over promo Hunter's Ally. I will pretty much always play main set Dramatic Rescue before the top cut one.
I did kind of reflexively just think I have these cool top 32 promos. I'm just going to always play these. Plus, they're not foil, and that's bonus. But the normal Hunter's Ally is pretty gorgeous, to be honest. Like,
it is very good.
Card. Anyway,
but besides that, the non-character promo, it feels like all we're kind of getting is like boxes, sealed product, which I always think sealed product is a very mixed pricing, because if your deck is good enough to make top cut, you've probably bought at minimum a fair number of the good singles. And if not, you've bought like cases and things like that. So you already have a ton of sealed product.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a fungible asset to anyone who's going to be at that level, I think. Yeah.
And then you get points, and points is great, but points is only good if you are not at least day one, if not day two of Worlds yet. If you are already at day two of Worlds, there's pretty much no reason to keep grinding. Like maybe there is some talk that X number of players might get their Worlds trip paid for. I've heard some talk about it.
I mean, it's not talk about it; it's announced.
Is it?
That's known.
Yeah,
that's no.
Okay, I keep hesitating those things because I don't want to accidentally.
It's written in an article,
shit.
assuming they stick to the words that are on their website. Which
so it's like
even pull it up.
If you make top 8, that's great. But if you're paying to go to enough regionals to make top 8, chances are very likely you're not making your money back on that paid travel because you paid to go to a bunch of regionals. So it really feels like once you get to 200 points, you've lost a lot of incentive to show up to regionals. I know if I place top 8 in Canada, I basically have all my points for day 2. I'm looking at going, why would I go to Atlanta or whatever the Northeastern regional winds up being? I don't really see a reason to go to those. And that's kind of frustrating.
Love the game, bro.
Yeah, it's love of the game. But, love of the game is a hard thing when you're talking.
Regionals last year.
Well, there I was hoping to win to make it to Worlds. like Worlds was exclusive enough that like I wasn't guaranteed to go if I wasn't showing up to regionals. Here I'm guaranteed day 2 already if I top 8 Canada. I think I need 6 more points on top of that.
Yeah, I
which I'll
mean,
get
this
from
is
local.
this is broadly a thing about extrinsic motivations, is that your intrinsic motivation, your desire to do the thing, tends to dry up once the extrinsic motivation dries up. Once you're no longer chasing a carrot,
Yeah.
eating a carrot has a lot. Like the chase for the carrot has a way of drying up your internal drive to chase for the carrot.
So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
guess
theoretically, those events also have cool promos and stuff that you would like to get. But yeah, I mean, they're going to be chasing the specter of 2022 until they are not.
Yeah.
You know, anyone who's been playing since early MHA remembers the days where you showed up to a regional, you got 6 promos, they all looked sick. If you top cutted, you got a freaking pile of the things.
Right.
And they were all worth, you know, 30, 40, 50 bucks because they looked really good and people wanted them. And, you know, for
Yeah,
better, something they can't replicate is, you know, at the time, everyone who played the game was just about everyone who played the game was an MHA fan, or like
Yeah.
the 10% really old hats, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, there was an economy there, but, you know, you can't replicate that exactly, but like that's what they're going to keep getting compared to rather. And, you know, if they can't figure out how to make people feel like, you know, making top cuts and they get rained on in promos,
yeah, like
then people are always going to be thinking back in those days.
there's a vision of the prize wall where if the prize wall was 8 cards that are all airship hot, and somehow the economy of this thing works out such that you can't just grind goofy
Yeah.
fake format stuff to X a million to cash transfer, whatever, blah 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 blah. That's kind of the vision of the prize wall, but that's clearly not where it's arrived yet. That we
Yeah,
have
or if there were,
Right.
you know, 3 different 100 lightning kicks that,
Yeah.
you know, if the prizes looked like the world's prizing, but at regionals, you know,
Yeah,
maybe,
that-
maybe with
like,
less piles of chromes, but
the thing I keep thinking, like with Worlds, is the reference. I thought it was so cool that every rank you get, you got, and they were doing the chromes, but you got a different chrome. You got top 32, you got Card Titan. Top 16, you got I think that one was Beast Titan, and keep going and going and going. Might
yes,
have been top
top 16 was Zeke 1's backside. That's right.
yeah,
I
like
know this
that.
because I flipped it over on Tim last week.
That is insanely sick. I think that is such a cool way to do top cut pricing. And I have a hard time understanding why we can't do something in its facsimile. We don't want to do the chrome rares because we don't want to devalue our inbox chromes. Valid. I get that. Why don't we have a tournament exclusive Donatello, Leonardo, Raphael, and Michelangelo, Splinter,
yeah,
and April?
why don't we do more characters?
Yeah. If
as
you
our
did
prizing promos, it is. I assume there's a reason, but I can't guess at what it is.
if you did top 32 got April O'Neil, top 16 got Splinter, 8 got Michelangelo, 4 got Donatello, second got Raphael, first got Leonardo. I would call it the best top cut, like a unique version 1. I would call it the best top cut pricing we've had in probably years, barring maybe Worlds. Or well, obviously Worlds, but barring Worlds. Would be so sick, and it does not seem like it would be that hard to do. Like, I get it. IP. Who knows? We
Yeah, no,
we
I do
can't
notice like the 4 different treatments is kind of cool, but it'd be cooler if they were 4 different cards. Obviously, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then,
and if you have like actual different cards, you don't need to come up with a way. Like the 4 different treatments ends up being 4 different monochromatic color washes because that's sort of the only way you can do a treatment to the same art 4 times.
I have one beef with one clear beef that we haven't talked about is the
Sure.
100 lightning kicks. I have a top 16 and a top 32. They're both foil. The top 16 looks like if you measured the lumens output of shining a light on, it's like 30% the brightness of the other one because it's got like the highlights foil, right? Where
Sure.
it's like Chun-Li's face isn't just blinding light on your shining back, but the top 32 one is just flat foil sheet, and so it's shiny as hell, and that's weird. That's messed up. That the shinier one is top 32. Anyway, no one else cares.
I saw someone in chat mention it, like also getting a place would be nice. That's one of the awkward things when we do non-character promos is like some people get really weirded out, like, or feel just weird playing one special version of their card and 3 normal versions. A lot of people that just doesn't
Right.
click in their brain right. If you do characters, you need one, especially because stackers are dead. You need one
Right.
version of this character. And so you get that, you now have the best version to play of that character, and that sounds insanely cool. And it encourages people to try building more decks in your game, I think, more so. Like, I built Ochako 4 decks after I got the top 32 Worlds promo for Ochako 4, because I was like, I want an excuse to use this cool shiny guy now because it is the character. I know there have been some conversations about, like, do we need to make these look a certain way, is how I'll put it, to like incentivize their marketed value. I don't care as much about that part. Because I'm not really looking for dollar value. I'm looking for like a special feeling of like something I can show off and flex and really achieve.
I'm
Broberg,
not
Broberg,
Yeah,
Broberg.
Spell.
brilliant choice of words with the special feeling. That's, I think that's really powerful to a lot of people.
Broberg.
That's all I'm saying. It's really
Namaste.
But
Anyway.
yeah, and you know, one of the things with if they don't get away from IPs, or they, you know, do a mix of like having some IP promos, but having not literally Red Horizon, but their own version of Red. Maybe you make a mascot character for each genre you're involved in, right?
Right.
Would be a cool thing they could do for universes, like brand mascot team or whatever. Is you could make the art however you want to make it, and that can be in ways that more people agree with or less people agree with, or that are trying to make money, or that's trying to look cool or whatever. But they would have the freedom to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
There's like a dream world where all the promos are really amazing. Like champion cards sell for $1,000 from every regionable, and I mean we briefly did this in this world for MHA, I think.
Oh, such an era.
Which was in part part of just what section of the market you capture in the broad strokes of the economic conditions of the day. But like, I mean, that's one way that you can make regionals worth going to, is that you have lots of very special feelings from everyone who sees the promos, and then they are willing to.
Remember when Jason was joking, probably, about a promo caught red-handed that was just like a picture of his cat?
Cat red-handed was
cat red-handed.
I'm so down for that.
That's because like it was really hard to get the card because it was from an out of print set and every deck ran it, and we were like, yes, we want this card. This is funny, right?
Yeah.
You probably don't do exactly a photo of a cat, but like you can just do stuff.
Well, it was gonna be a photo of a cat on like a space background, like the Milky
on a
Way
space
background,
mat, because he needed to advertise his space mats for an entire Kickstarter he did for large space playmats.
Forgot about space mats.
I was gonna say, Paul in the chat just pointed it out. The Patchwork Baby promos.
Yeah, that was kind of something in this direction. Yeah.
I think they're terrifying. I don't like them, but I like the idea of them.
Man, I wish it had occurred to me to like get a set of those and like try to put those in the prize wall and be like, hey Sean, can I like consign these prize wall Patchwork Babies?
I do think, regardless of how you do pricing, there was one thing that really annoyed me. Do any of you looked at Riftbound Organized Play yet? I don't know if I've
skimmed it.
Not that I remember.
There was one thing that really upset me that I saw. In Riftbound Organized Play, which is run by UVS Games, they are doing a best of character pricing, where if you are the best with that character, you get a unique prize.
It is embarrassing that they don't do that for UVS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I will be fair.
We did it once and then haven't done it since.
I will provide one fair asterisk here. The way they're doing it in Riftbound, you could not do in UVS Games. People's at least speculation, I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, because I'm not that up with Riftbound, is that you are going to get a special version of your champion, because there's only like 16 of them.
Oh, sure.
You can't do that for universes because there are 200 of them and they don't want to print 200 ones when maybe 20 of them get used.
You're saying I can get the special Leona because nobody else will play her. All right.
And that is the direction you can go. Yes. There have been jokes that people are going to show up with like the most unplayable character in the set just to try to be the best of the worst.
You have to pick. You can't pick Bowser, right? You have to pick Pichu. You have to pick not the worst, but like kind of okay, because everyone's going to go for the worst, right? That's going to be contentious for the Bowser pick.
Okay, Tim is actually correct here. If you were going for it, Leona is one of your better choices because Leona is just bad enough that people really gunning to top cut, at least where people are in the meta right now. I know Tim's going to be
Yes.
upset that I'm
You want
trying to
C
say the
tier, is
meta
what I'm
self.
saying. Yeah.
But if where the meta we are now stays, Leona's where it should be because she's like a C minus tier, which is just bad enough that top cut people aren't going to try for her, but probably too good that the meme lords trying to play the worst aren't going to play her either. She's like golden for that. But even in UVS games, here's what you could do for universes or something
Do
in
what
this.
we did at Nats. It's said right there in the chat. The Hardened Jab diversity promo. You could just have a promo. People would
Absolutely.
be happy.
Yeah, if you had a promo, and let's say you're worried about overprinting it, you could do the
It's just
best.
prize wall tickets.
Well,
It's just
you
prize
could
wall
Sure.
tickets.
you could give out prize wall tickets. You could do. We're gonna print 50 of these promos, and the top 50 characters best player
Yeah,
gets these. That way, also like people showing up with nothing that no one's playing and like go like just drop immediately aren't necessarily getting rewarded for that. You are still making it some level competitive, but it's flexible enough that even if you're the kind of player who gets 75th at a regional, you still have a very good shot of getting one of these if you pick a character that people aren't really expecting. And that sounds really cool. So you do one promo and then you create a wall on the side for each regional that lists the player and what character they were the best at playing with. You do those two things at tournament prizing, I would be so in. Do you know how ecstatic I would have been if at Albuquerque I got a promo for being the best smiling? I had to mention her once, the best smiling Titan player, and had it on the site that I was the best smiling Titan player at Albuquerque. I would have been in.
Actually,
So
yeah, I like the public announcement of, hey, this guy's really cool. We like this guy. He did the best with the guy.
yeah, that's so cool.
Right.
And I was talking to Jacob about this, and he brought up like a really cool idea for it, which is that like you could even have like a set on the wall where you could take a photo with that character. And then the gallery, if you wanted, it wouldn't be mandatory, but if you wanted, you could have a photo with you with your character card with that listing. It would not be that hard to do this. It would be a cool community thing. It would hype people up. It really it kind of reminds me a lot of the pet deck mentality that my understanding is a lot of UFS was built on. A lot of UFS players were very big
because of
pet
the diversity
deckers
rule, right?
because
Like,
of diversity rule. It would kind of bring back a lot of that principle of incentivizing pet decking without creating the awkwardness that diversity does, where
Yeah.
the second best player
Yeah,
gets knocked out.
It's an excellent care. It's a really wonderful thing to reward. I think it is a heinous stick to
Yes.
punish people for playing the wrong deck. That's a very, very bad incentive.
100%.
It's really cool. It's really pro-social. It's really, really wonderful for everyone involved. It's just kind of, I know we did it, and then I know they had some staff shakeups, and there's been a lot of different directions and whatever, and it didn't get prioritized.
Yeah, like every time you bring it up, they're like, "Oh, that's a cool idea," but they can't. They cannot just they. Well, aside from Gen Con, they have a hard time just producing enough promos as it is.
Yeah.
But somehow they had 8 for Gen Con suddenly out of nowhere, out of thin air. But in any event,
and they had 8 of them
just
with
bring
enough
a stack
quantity
of those.
that they
Bring a stack of Little Mister.
Yeah.
To the next regionals and be like, here's our diversity prize.
Yeah. Like, I don't
Banger.
think, because
Yeah.
here's the thing. When it comes to something like that, the acknowledgement, I think, for 90% of players is more important than the promo. Like, it would be cool if it was a unique character or a unique non-character card. Like, that would be cooler. I don't think most players are that worried about it. What they want, what players, like, people just value being acknowledged that they're the best at something. And being told you were the best X character is a sick feeling to get.
Yeah, you were the best, Jamie. We know Jamie underperformed at this event, but you were the best one.
You were it would be so cool, and it just frustrates me when I see the same organized play doing this at another game where it arguably fits less than our game that is kind of built around to create an identity with your character. But that's probably enough of me bashing on UVS games.
Yeah, one thing we didn't talk about, if we're still in the dimension of Louisville at all,
yeah,
we didn't do Chaos Sealed. We did something that might be better than Chaos Sealed,
was that
which is Challenger Sealed.
Super
Sealed.
Yeah, was that the one where you did the Street Fighter decks but got like an additional couple of packs?
Yeah, it was Street Fighter decks plus 3 booster packs and you still only played 40 cards. You got to cut a bunch of the chaff you didn't like out of your decks. You got to actually tune your deck how you wanted to play it. And you also had the randomness of the foils that were in your Challenger Jet box, and the super high variance of like half the cards in that Street Fighter stuff were garbage. It was amazing. It was amazing.
That's peak universes. Like that is actually peak universes at that point. I would be so in that you do me. Let's assume that because that's the speculation. Let's say the Bells Hells are challenger decks. You tell me at the next regional or whatever regionals after that, they're doing Bells Hells, Heroes of Exandria, Challenger Sealed. I am signing up immediately.
Yeah,
that sounds
great.
incredible.
Yeah, I want like I know they have this as like a formal a format of the support of like challenger deck format where you just show up and you have to show up with a custom uncustomized in the box.
Actually, just have a challenger format side of it.
Yeah. They should have that, and I think I would love to play one where you have to bring your unmodified challenger deck, and then there's booster packs on top of that. So it's also sealed, it's also challenger series, and you get all that customization, all that variance. I think that I like. There's been talk about like the problems of sealed, like Where's Web was talking about this with the pre-releases and some of the experience from Gen Con, the playing of the TMNTs at Gen Con. One of the problems is that if you are constructing a deck completely from scratch, you get randomness in your all kinds of stuff. Your keywords don't line up, all that stuff. The challenger decks don't have that problem. The challenger decks you have a skeleton that kind of works.
Yeah,
and then you can add to that. You can graft extra organs on. You can do all the peak universes stuff. Whatever.
Did you get to pick from either character in your box as well, or did you have to play?
They assigned you which one you
It was
got.
random.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it was random. Okay, cool.
I think the meta was supposed to be you wanted to be Jamie, but I thought Ryu was really good.
I don't know. I think certainly the cards in the Ryu deck are better than the cards in the Jamie deck, and I don't know if Jamie's good enough to make up for that. I had a rough time because I went light on mid blocks and did not understand just how many mid attacks those Ryu decks, some of them were going to have. And I got like zone Yomi'd a lot with my 22 health. But yeah, I think the Ryus generally ended up being most of the top tables.
2 questions. Did you get to fake reversal someone with a challenger deck, either Rising Uppercut or El Kokosho? And did you get to real reversal someone with a Street Fighter card?
No to the latter. I did get to Breaker 10.
What the
reversal aerial Kiko show for lethal. You can't block it because your block check has -10.
Hang on. How the hell does that deck do okay, so I get you have 4 of the foundation that gives Breaker 2. Is there a card that also gives Breaker or that also has Breaker 2 in
the 5th copy that you open in your promo, the Challenger alt pack?
Hell yeah.
Yo.
Yeah, I know my deck. I wanted to cut one of the 207 EX kick, but I opened a foil, and it's like I can't not play the foil, and I can't not play all the ones before the foil too. So
Aerial Kiko show was awful for me the rest of the time, but that one time.
Well, because let's be clear, with side events, you're there to have fun with side events. And if you're getting moments like that, the side event has done its job. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we're probably pretty close to time. But one thing I wanted to say, if we want to briefly touch on sealed in general and the TMNT pre-release coming up, I think one is like I have a big idea kind of that when you're playing with low power decks, you aren't going to be able to do some things you do in Construct. You're not going to be able to approach the game in the same way where you're like trying to reduce variance, you're trying to get closer and closer to a win on a kind of a steady path or whatever. Like you are the kind of the equities are going to run closer together, and you're going to have to take risks to get ahead.
Yes.
And I think it's easy, especially like it's easy to kind of like use kind of the normal rules. I think you need to play more attacks in sealed in general.
Yes.
Like a deck with 1/3 attacks is probably trending low. I'd probably start at 15 and only go lower than that if I'm very confident I don't need more than 15.
Right. I go usually about 40% to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I do want to, before we maybe turn into a little bit, although we are a little at time, I do want to just kind of wrap things up.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of talked a lot of specific issues. We talked about good and bad that's gone on at these regionals and have kind of tangented and rambled a little bit. The appropriate amount.
The Vortex cast, yeah.
Yeah, the Vortex cast way. Do you guys think OP has been an improvement? And are you satisfied with where OP is at now? Like, if it stayed where it's at now for next year and the year after, would you start getting frustrated?
I think it's an improvement over last year. Certainly, in part just because there's a regional every month somewhere.
Right.
I think that's big. I think there have been, as much as it feels like there haven't been enough promos, haven't been the right promos. There have been more promos overall because partly because there's more events, and some of the promos have been really. The Critical Role promos were great. Just visually, those were just really good promos. We did not, there are things we didn't see materialize. I don't think it's better than 2022.
Sure.
Which is, like I said, they're always going to be chasing that, but I think it's probably better than most, if not every year since then.
Is 22? Is that the 250K year or is that 21?
That would have been the 250K year, but just ignoring the 250K portion of
Sure.
it, just like
even the rest, how the regionals
the
work.
prizing of those regionals and
Right.
the announcement timelines were bad.
Yeah,
But the events besides that were pretty good.
sure. Yeah, I
can
think I
agree with
generally
that.
agree.
So
I
I think they have things to work on. They have certainly not consistency in terms of refusing to change, but a consistency in terms of like if you do something good once, do it at least that good in future iterations.
Right.
And start like building something up instead of like hitting different parts of the target every time. Would be nice.
Right.
I think from my perspective, I think I performed substantially worse at over 3 regionals than I did last year, and I'm happier with my prizes, with what I've taken home, and especially at the kind of I realized that in apples to apples of I got 16th place at St. Louis last year in the Midwest by Rochester CCG. I got 16th place at St. Louis, and I was actively insulted by what I got in St. Louis after getting 5th place in Swiss by what I walked away with for 16th place, and this year I'm very happy.
Sure.
So that's on an upward trend. Obviously, I think first place, like my land prizes were crazy. Those were amazing, a bunch of amazing promos, and a bunch of the those promos were really cool and kind of almost exclusive to the
poster,
the very high placement cards. Yeah, and I think the peaks of those aren't as high, so I picked the right time to scrub out. Clearly. But and I think the rest of the production broadly has been pretty good. And I think there are more people who get everything but top 32 than there are people who get top 32, and that's an important part of the field. And like Worlds is on the brink for the people who are getting the really high placements too. So we'll see how that goes. And that was amazing last year.
Yeah, I think it is one thing that we need to be careful of because at times, because at least 3 of us at the table, sorry, Will, are pretty consistently top 32 players.
As if. I went 0-3-1 in Denver.
Yeah, it's like I get shot for no reason when Kevin and Tim have both had bad runs.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you've had bad runs.
I got top 32 at the last regional. I got top 8 this regional. I could not have a bad run. We don't talk about EU nationals.
Oh yeah, okay.
No, I only pick on you because you're on my team. Like it's a requirement.
That's reasonable.
But like
we have to bait you to talk more too.
That's true. Rage baiting always
look
works.
I'm just too polite. Every time I like go to say something, like someone else says something, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll just wait. And then by the time I'm done waiting, we've moved to a completely different topic.
Yeah, we're actually 3 rabbit holes deep. Yeah.
Because I was gonna point out to Kevin that like when we do sealed, his idea of doing sealed with packs and a precon, I'm like, that's what Pokemon does. Pokemon sealed has a little like 30 card precon that comes with it, and it's like randomized between like 4 or 5 of them, and then you get like 4 booster packs, and you add to that starter deck because Pokemon is basically unplayable if you just open 6 packs.
Oh yeah,
you can't play that.
Oh yeah,
because
you need energy and stuff. Like you don't get enough energy in a booster pack. Yeah,
well, it's mostly because of evolution.
It's actually because of evolution.
True, yeah.
You open like a Charizard, you don't have a Charmander. You're screwed.
The way they do sealed when they do it is like mutant evolution, where any Pokemon can evolve into any other Pokemon because it's the only way to make it semi-functional if you're
without the precon. That's the only way to do it.
I love that crossed my mind as you were like starting to say it. Like someone the Charizard's like, what if you vote Poliwhirl into Charizard?
Yeah, that's how they do it. But what I was saying was, besides picking on Will, it is very important to look at the participation pricing. I think the participation promos and the prize wall have been really good for people who know going into a regional they're probably not going to top cut. know that Top
Absolutely.
Cut is like an overly aspirational goal, but are there to have fun, are there to learn, are there to get better. They're getting more out of these events, at least from what I can see. When I look at it from sorry.
I just want to say, and too, like, and just to emphasize, like, it's not even like you're a person who shows up and doesn't expect to do well. Like, there are a lot of people on Sunday who aren't playing in the main event still, and I think that's I mean, the Sunday experience is just as important as the Saturday experience, really.
So I am more disappointed by Top Cut pricing not getting as much better, in my opinion. Like, it is better, but not as much better as I would like. We've talked about the ways to make it better. But I think like for the 70% of people, 80% of people who are not getting any of that Top Cut pricing, it has definitely been a pretty sizable improvement. And I'm very happy for that.
Right. Absolutely.
And it is, again, it's an improvement for Top Cut. I just think it's right now at like, it was at a 4 and it's now at like a 6. And
Right.
that's better. I would like it to be like at that 7, 8, and 9.
The best way to put it is that it's getting better, but there's still a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see how the rest of OP goes. I'm very interested to see one thing we didn't get time to touch on. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. How many people wind up at day 1 and day 2 of Worlds? Because we're at like 100 something that have day 1, and we're at like 40 or like 30 that have day 2 already. I think it's
I think that's going to be
now.
better to touch on at least after Atlanta.
Yeah, I think after Atlanta, when
we'll
we're kind of in the home
predict.
stretch, we're going to look at those numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that covers everything. I don't think, Pete, we want to take the extra time for pre-release.
Yeah, I was looking at I don't think there's a whole lot to say about this pre-release format. I think it's going to be okay. I think there's a pretty limited number of characters that feel like good sealed characters.
And I think there'll be
set.
more to talk about on Thursday after we've actually played in them.
Yeah.
I think if Leatherhead draws a lot of cards, and I haven't looked at card draw in this set, if Leatherhead draws a lot of cards, I'm horrified to play against Leatherhead in sealed, because the idea that he like blocks your early moves and then are -3, -4 damage on your later moves sounds like killing him is gonna. I apologize. I do not mean to misgender the giant crocodile.
Well,
My bad.
Leatherhead and like every other iteration of Turtles, I'm pretty sure is male. It's just in Mutant Mayhem, she is a girl.
That was the only character I looked at and thought was particularly scary. Bebop might be kind of annoying.
It's going to be Bebop, Leatherhead, maybe Superfly. I could imagine doing something.
The rule of thumb with sealed is just, if your character puts on a lot of damage and or reduces a lot of damage, they are a scary character in sealed.
Right.
That was the case with Grog. That was the case with younger Toguro, because he put a lot of damage. Those are just like the two primo things, because cards don't kill people on their own in sealed usually, especially with where we build common and uncommon.
Too bad for it. We have some powerful 3 at common. We have some like 7 damage moves.
Sure,
but it's not as good as some of the AOT sets were for that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Ultra Hard Steel, my best friend in limited. That card is so sick in limited.
So, kind of wrapping things up, do people want to plug their channels and everything?
Yeah, check out Build UVS. I'll post a video Sunday.
Sotonis on YouTube, CETONIS. I'm working, I'm sure very slowly through, I want to do a series of budget videos. Not on budget decks, but on cards that could be good for budget players to pick up, or challenger decks will be the next one that could be good for budget players to pick up. I kind of like have my list. I need to actually make the slides and decide how I'm going to organize it and actually press record. And I'm really behind on a number of video games after Gencon, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But
Will, do you have a channel you'd like to plug?
Nope, just our YouTube channel. Supposedly I'm going to be taking over that very soon. We'll see how that goes. Well,
then you can't yell at me. I can yell at you.
I can yell at myself.
There you go.
Anyway,
that's true. I would forget to yell at you. That's 100% correct. I'm handing off the reins of the VOD channel to him. One, because like I'm forgetful, and VODs are a thing I easily forget to upload. I'm sure no one's noticed, but so I'm going to let Will kind of handle the VOD upload, but also because I am starting a personal channel. I'm still working out the kinks over the next couple of weeks. It is, I believe the name is going to be, for anyone who's actually here to hear it first, Double Mulligan, named after our Mulligan system. It's going to be a combination. It's basically going to be anything I am doing that doesn't fit the podcast. If I'm doing something with any of the boys, it's probably going on 4chexcast or streaming 4chexcast. Like when we get back to history, which is coming soon.
If we ever do more OD&Q.
Asterisk. If
That
we do
was
more
fun.
Old Dog New Quirks, it was fun.
My character sucked ass, but it was fun.
You know, when we do more, whenever we do content with the boys, it will be here. And then when I'm doing personal content, it will probably be on the Double Mulligan channel. Part of that is in about 2 weeks, well, 2.5 weeks. I'm going to be doing Riftbound Wednesdays with Tam Cardwell.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. Don't worry, Universes is still my number one pride and joy. The podcast is still my number one. Like, none of that is like getting decreased in its content. I just want to be able to expand out and hopefully bring that back in. I'm hoping that some of the Riftbound people, because they are getting more views, will come over to our Universes content and see how cool our stuff is as well.
Right.
So that's kind of what's going on for everyone. Thank you guys so much. I'm just gonna raid you guys over. I'm guessing to Tam, if Tam's still live.
Yep, he is currently live.
Tam and Barrett Super Show.
You know, them stealing all of our viewers. You know,
Monsters.
I will thank you all for tuning in. We will see you all later.
Yeah, thanks for chatting, guys. Bye.
7, 6,
Bye.
5. I hate that makes me wait 10 seconds. 3, 2.
Just have to
One.
time it better.
Yeah, that's true.
Like type it in before you start talking about who you rated.